In the far reaches of the DC universe, beyond the world's mortals know, there lies a realm where God's rule and tyranny is absolute. This is Apokolips, a planet forged in fire and misery, a world where hope is suffocated under the heel of its supreme ruler Darkseid. Born as UCS's the second son of King Yuga Khan and Queen Hegra, Darkseid was never destined to be just another heir to the throne. From the earliest days of his existence, he carried an insatiable hunger for power, a cold calculation that set him apart from his peers, and a disdain for anything that resembled compassion or mercy. His rise to power was not one of honor or succession, it was carved through betrayal and blood. In the ancient days of the new gods, Uxas plotted against his own family and allies, manipulating events so he could seize the ultimate source of power, the Omega Force. This cosmic energy transformed him into Darkseid, a being of immeasurable strength, intellect, and cruelty. His skin hardened into the stone-like visage, now feared across galaxies. His eyes began to burn with the destructive Omega beams, and his heart became nothing more than an unrelenting engine of conquest. Darkseid's ambition knew no boundaries. His goal was nothing less than the complete subjugation of all life in the universe. Yet, unlike other conquerors, his mission was guided by a singular philosophical obsession: the anti-life equation. This mythical formula, said to strip all beings of free will, became his ultimate pursuit. To Darkseid, true power was not merely ruling over bodies, it was ruling over minds, erasing the very concept of rebellion from existence. In the comics, his first appearances in Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen number 134, and later in Jack Kirby's legendary Fourth World Saga painted him as the ultimate mastermind behind countless conflicts. He was never the kind of villain to waste time on simple battles. Instead, he orchestrated wars from the shadows, sending lieutenants like Darkseid, Granny Goodness, and the female Furies to do his bidding, while he calculated every move toward universal domination. On Apokolips, life is nothing but an endless march of suffering. The skies are blackened with smoke from massive fire pits, the air is thick with ash, and the people enslaved and broken know only the will of their master. Darkseid rules with fear and absolute control, his word law, his displeasure death. In the DC Extended Universe (DCU), Darkseid's shadow looms over events long before he steps onto the battlefield. In Zack Snyder's Justice League, we see his younger form, Uxas, leading the first invasion of Earth thousands of years ago. Wielding his brutal weaponry and commanding a vast army of Edmonds, he sought the Mother Boxes to terraform the planet into another Apokolips. Yet his defeat, at the hands of a united front of Amazons, Atlanteans, humans, Green Lanterns, and even the old gods, was not the end. It was merely a delay. This setback only fueled his hatred. Across centuries, Darkseid's name became a whispered terror across the stars. Civilizations fell before him, heroes perished, and entire worlds burned. He is not a conqueror in the traditional sense, he is an inevitability. When Darkseid sets his eyes on a world, it is only a matter of time before that world either kneels or is reduced to ashes. From the comic panels to the big screen, one truth remains constant: Darkseid is not just a villain, he is the embodiment of tyranny, a force that even gods fear, and as long as he seeks the anti-life equation, the universe will never know peace. Darkseid's conquests are not simply military campaigns, they are orchestrated acts of psychological and spiritual domination. His mastery lies not only in brute strength, but in manipulation, strategy, and an uncanny understanding of fear. Unlike warlords who delight in chaos, Darkseid thrives in order, but it is an order built upon absolute submission. Throughout the DC Comics universe, one of Darkseid's most defining relationships is with Superman. The Man of Steel, born under the light of another sun, represents everything Darkseid despises: hope, compassion, and the idea that individuals can choose their own destiny. Their clashes are legendary, stretching across dimensions, and each confrontation serves as a reminder that Superman's idealism is one of the few forces in existence capable of standing against the Lord of Apokolips. One of the most iconic portrayals of their conflict comes from the animated Superman, the animated series, and Justice League cartoons, where Darkseid's manipulations lead to some of the most devastating betrayals in DC's animated history. He once brainwashed Superman into becoming his enforcer, sending shockwaves across the galaxy as the symbol of hope became a weapon of tyranny. This act alone showed that Darkseid's reach is not limited to destroying cities. He can twist even the strongest heroes into instruments of his will. But Superman is far from his only adversary. The Justice League as a whole has stood in his path countless times. From classic comics like Crisis on Infinite Earths and Final Crisis to modern arcs such as Darkseid War. In Darkseid War, he faces off against the Anti-Monitor, a cosmic being powerful enough to rival him. The battle is so catastrophic that it shakes the foundations of the multiverse, forcing heroes and villains alike into uneasy alliances just to survive. In film adaptations, Zack Snyder's Justice League gives us a glimpse into how Darkseid views Earth not merely as another planet to conquer, but as the linchpin to his universal dominance. The Mother Boxes, capable of transforming any world into a mirror of Apokolips, are merely tools in his grand design. His real prize remains the equation, which, in Snyder's version, is revealed to be inscribed on Earth itself. This revelation elevates Earth from an insignificant world to the single most important battlefield in Darkseid's eternal war. His presence in the movie, though limited, is palpable. Every word he speaks carries the weight of inevitability, every glance a promise of destruction. When Steppenwolf, his general, falls in battle, the look in Darkseid's eyes is not one of grief, but of cold determination. Earth will be his, not today, perhaps not tomorrow, but the day will come. What makes Darkseid uniquely terrifying is his patience. He does not rush. He does not strike without certainty. He wages wars that span centuries, manipulating empires, eroding resistance, and bending civilizations to his will until they forget they were ever free. Even in defeat, he calculates the long game. Every loss is a lesson, every setback a step toward eventual victory. In the broader tapestry of DC storytelling, Darkseid stands apart because he is not just a villain, he is an existential constant. Gods die, heroes rise and fall, empires crumble, but Darkseid endures. He is the shadow that stretches beyond time, the tyrant who will never stop until all life is bound to his will. Whether in the pages of Jack Kirby's original vision, in epic comic crossovers, or in cinematic adaptations, his essence remains the same. Darkseid, his Apokolips is not simply Darkseid's domain, it is an extension of his will. The planet itself is a nightmare given form, a sprawling industrial hellscape where fire burns in oceans of magma and towers rise like blackened spears into a choking sky. There is no sunrise here, no relief from the weight of oppression. Every brick, every machine, every soul belongs to Darkseid. The air is thick with the smoke of war foundries, churning out weapons for campaigns that will stretch into eternity. The cries of the oppressed blend into the endless march of his armies, creating a symphony of subjugation. His court is filled with lieutenants, as dangerous as they are loyal. Granny Goodness, the twisted matron who trains soldiers in the brutal orphanages of Apokolips, Darkseid, his sadistic torturer and master manipulator, and the relentless Furies, led by warriors like Big Barda, each serves a role in Darkseid's grand machine. Their loyalty maintained not by love, but by fear, and the understanding that failure means annihilation. Darkseid's military might is legendary. His parademen's insectoid, mindless shock troops swarm over battlefields like locusts, overwhelming resistance through sheer numbers. But it is not the parademans that truly make him unstoppable, it is the Omega effect. His mastery over this mysterious cosmic energy allows him to unleash Omega beams, crimson, zigzagging blasts of pure annihilation that can track their targets across space and even erase beings from existence entirely. Those struck are not merely killed. In some cases, they are removed from the timeline itself. In the comics, his campaigns often blur the line between science and sorcery. In the Great Darkness saga, Darkseid rises from dormancy to conquer vast stretches of the 31st century, demonstrating that time itself cannot contain him. In Final Crisis, he falls through the cracks of reality, existing in multiple planes of existence at once, poisoning Earth with his mere presence. Reality warps under his influence, heroes fall into despair, and the multiverse trembles as the anti-life equation spreads like a virus. Alternate universes and Elseworlds stories have shown Darkseid in even more unsettling lights. In Injustice, Gods Among Us, his existence looms as a constant threat beyond the chaos of Superman's regime. In Justice League, Gods and Monsters, alternate versions of the League, face threats inspired by apocalyptic dominance, and in Superman, Speeding Bullets, where Kal-El becomes Batman instead of Superman, the shadow of Darkseid remains inevitable, proof that in almost any reality, his ambition finds a way. Cinematic adaptations have only scratched the surface of what Darkseid represents, but their visual power makes him unforgettable. His brief but striking appearances in Zack Snyder's Justice League show his towering form, his armor etched with the scars of countless wars, his voice like a rumble of collapsing mountains. Even without extended screen time, his presence radiates the feeling that he is the story's ultimate destination, the final obstacle in a saga that spans gods, heroes, and entire worlds. Yet even with all his might, Darkseid's true weapon remains the anti-life equation. More than a formula, it is a concept, a way to strip free will from every living mind in the universe. With it, resistance becomes impossible, rebellion unthinkable. In Darkseid's eyes, this is not cruelty, but mercy. Free will breeds conflict, suffering, and chaos. The anti-life equation ends all of that in an eternal, unchanging peace. His logic is cold, unshakable, and terrifying because, in its twisted way, it sees itself as salvation in every iteration. From Jack Kirby's original vision in the Fourth World Saga to modern reinterpretations, Darkseid's essence remains constant. He is inevitability given flesh. Heroes may defy him, worlds may resist him, but he will return, each time more determined, each time closer to achieving the one victory that would render the universe silent forever. Darkseid's shadow stretches far beyond the borders of Apokolips. In the grand tapestry of DC's multiverse, he is not just a villain, he is the villain, the gravitational center around which ultimate evil orbits. His influence lingers in the quiet moments between cosmic wars, whispered about by gods, feared by mortals, and respected even grudgingly by those who oppose him. His most dangerous quality is not brute strength, but patience. Darkseid is a strategist in the truest sense, never rushing into battle without knowing the outcome. He plays the long game across centuries, setting pieces in motion long before anyone realizes they are part of his plan. A planet might think it has resisted his rule, only to discover that its leaders, culture, and even heroes have been subtly reshaped to serve his purpose. The anti-life equation is his holy grail, but domination itself is a process, one he executes with both precision and inevitability. In the comics, his reach has touched nearly every major DC storyline, from Crisis on Infinite Earths to Infinite Crisis, from Final Crisis to Dark Knights, Death Metal. Darkseid's presence either directly drives the conflict or looms as the hidden hand behind it. In Darkseid War, he wages a brutal battle against the Anti-Monitor, a clash so immense that it shakes the very fabric of the multiverse. Even in defeat, Darkseid rarely loses. For every setback, there is a contingency, and for every death, there is a resurrection. He is the living embodiment of persistence, a being who cannot be erased, so long as the concept of tyranny itself exists. Film adaptations have begun to reveal him to mainstream audiences, but in animation, he has long been a towering figure. In Superman, the animated series, and Justice League Unlimited, Darkseid is portrayed with a chilling calm, his every word deliberate, his every move calculated. His betrayal of Superman in the animated series, culminating in their climactic battles, remains one of the most emotionally charged rivalries in superhero media. In Young Justice, his influence emerges slowly, hinting that all the chaos of the series may be the result of his quiet manipulations. In Zack Snyder's vision of the DC Extended Universe, Darkseid is the ultimate threat lurking beyond Steppenwolf's failure in Justice League. The imagery of his arrival, stepping through a burning portal, armies of Apokolips behind him, cements his place as the saga's final challenge. Though his live-action role has so far been brief, it hints at the apocalyptic scope of a full-scale invasion and the catastrophic cost of standing against him. Darkseid's cultural impact goes beyond comics and screen. He has become a universal symbol for absolute authoritarian control, often invoked in discussions about power and morality. His very name is shorthand for a force so dominant that resistance seems not just dangerous, but hopeless. Yet, in this hopelessness lies his greatest narrative value. For what is a hero if not someone who dares to fight when the fight cannot be won? Darkseid forces the Justice League, the New Gods, and even entire civilizations to rise beyond their limits, because nothing less will suffice. In the end, Darkseid's story is a mirror held to the universe, showing what happens when order is enforced without freedom. When peace is purchased at the cost of the soul, his ambition is infinite, his reach eternal, and his belief in his own righteousness unshakable. He does not see himself as evil, but as the inevitable conclusion of all existence. And perhaps, in some far future, when the last star has burned out and the final voice has been silenced, the universe will find itself exactly as he has always envisioned, in perfect, unending order, under the gaze of Darkseid.